Goes live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Capital Raising Workshop with GOB Network. Welcome in, everyone. Hi, Jeannie. Are you there? I think we have Daryl on the call. Hi, Jim. How's everything going this afternoon?
Peachy keen. Thank you for asking, Alicia. How's it going with you?
Just wonderful. It's been so fast paced. I love it.
Yeah, it has been a very busy week, a very busy month, a very busy day, starting to be a very busy.
And it is raining. I think Sonia sent all the rain that was occurring in California down here.
Well, that's good. You guys need it. Phoenix,
Yeah,
yeah, Phoenix always needs the extra rain.
we
California
do. We
sunshine
do.
just needs the extra rain.
And I'm not complaining. I'm just like, okay, everyone across the world who drives here, be careful.
It's one of the few opportunities you have to know in Arizona if you have a roof leak.
Yes,
You gotta you gotta take advantage of it.
that's for sure. Well, I look forward to the clouds moving because I want to see the snow on the mountains.
Pardon me, ma'am? I'll be back
Hey,
later.
Daniel, we can hear you.
Okay.
Welcome into the call.
We will we'll mute Daniel for now. And I don't think Jeannie is there in the background, but she didn't answer, so I'm gonna go
Right.
ahead and mute her also.
Well, I think it may be her
A bot?
AI, but we're seeing.
And by the way, I know we don't put bots in the room, but if we could at least allow mine so that I can take notes and later on post this to my YouTube channel also.
No bots for you, Jim.
No bots for you. I like that. Was that originally from Saturday Night Live, or was it from a movie? No soup for you. I think it was a skit on Saturday Night Live. No soup for you. Yeah, it was. Yeah, now that I think of it, John Belushi, and I don't remember who else did it with him. It was probably Dan Aykroyd. So,
I think you might be dating yourself there, Jim.
oh no, I'd be the only one who wants to date me. uh, no, I am proud to be here in just a couple more weeks. Proud to be 66. Just need to jump back on get out of this chair once in a while and start picking up something a little bit heavier than a phone.
What day is that gonna be, Jim? 66, what day?
March 1st.
Mine is the 1st of March.
Oh, we have the same birthday, Daniel.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, March 1. What year were you born?
1950.
Okay. I was born in 58.
9.
58.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
you know who else we have the same birthday with? Remember that guy, Tony Robbins?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's February 29th year.
I've got a good friend here in Chicago that's February 29th. And he does Tony celebrate his on the 1st, or does he celebrate on the 28th?
We first celebrated on the 1st.
Yeah, my friend celebrates on the 28th. I don't know why. I guess he didn't want to be a Pisces. Bernadette, long time no see. Love that you're in the room. We don't have uh, we don't have Ray yet, do we?
Not yet.
Okay, all right. Well, if anyone, while we're waiting for Ray, we'll do a little bit of networking here. Anyone have anything they want to share?
So we have our Crosby Lakeside RV Resort listed on our GOB Network Fund or GOB Fund, which is really cool. So we have that asset that we're raising capital for.
Did you check, Alicia? Did it go live today?
I did not,
Okay. So if
but
we
we
drop,
uploaded
if,
it.
if we drop a link, it may or may not work.
Well, if you want to know more, we'll get you added on there.
And Edwin, quick question. Are you partnering with the guys down in Augusta?
Esteban?
Yes,
No, not on the deal that they're currently raising. No, but
Okay.
we are looking at
some of their stuff.
in the future. Yes, sir.
Okay,
And
fantastic.
Ray's coming in right now.
Okay. I just text them too.
Okay.
Yeah, if anyone else is interested in that deal and wants to collectively partner on that deal to raise for it, please reach out and let me know. As we can set something up so that we can all do it collectively if we have enough interest. So who here uses an AI assistant like Otter or Fathom or some other I use
I use Phantom.
Yeah, I do too. And it used to be Zoom only, but very happy that they've now opened it up to Teams, Microsoft Teams, and also
Mhm.
Google Meet. And I don't know if there's another platform, but Ray, do you use any of the note takers and digital recorders?
Yeah, I use Fathom actually. Fathom is, like you said, now that it's a little bit more encompasses other tools, not just Zoom. It's even better. I used to use something for Teams separately, and of course, if it was Meet, it was another one. But it's starting to become more integrated, which is very
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I invested in that company very early on, so I was very
Yeah.
happy. I was very happy to see that they started going across platforms. I think that was very good for my investment. So
Yes. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everyone to the Capital Raise Strategy session here on the operated by the GOB. The host, Jim Biggs, co-host, Darren Murphy and Alicia Milton. Today is a special day. I know this gentleman. I've worked with him. We were on a deal together. And I'm going to tell you, just the time that I spent with him, I learned a lot. He definitely taught me a lot, educated me to some things. So I would just like to say, so who is this individual I'm talking about? His name is Ray. He's a distinguished real estate investor, best-selling author, and retired lieutenant colonel from the United States Army. As the founder and president of MI Real Estate LLC and the driving force behind the Admirable Group LLC, Go Fast Capital LLC, and Stressless Capital Fund LLC, Ray has led the acquisition of 15 multifamily properties with over 1,200 units, valued at $150 million. His contributions to literature include the best-selling titles such as Bluff, Bottom Line Up Front, and Bottom Line Up Front about passively investing in multifamily properties, and Ideas Worth Knowing, using retirement accounts to invest in real estate, the Rachel Neighbors interview, highlighting his commitment to sharing knowledge in real estate investment. With an MBA from Columbia Southern University and over 28 years of service in the United States Army, Ray embodies a blend of professional success and personal fulfillment, making him a true inspiration across multiple spheres. Let's give a warm welcome to a leader whose life story and achievements inspire us, Mr. Reyes. Welcome, Ray. Welcome.
Daryl, man, it's a pleasure to be on, brother. Appreciate it, man. And obviously, from one service member to another, it's always good to get on and chat. And yeah, it's been a little while, man. New year.
That's
Looking
right.
forward to moving on here and really pushing forward on business and networking and partnerships. It's all about.
Fantastic. So Ray, just give us. I know I've read it. I read some of your bio, but go ahead and enlighten us on some of the things I may have missed out. Down left.
Man, that was pretty good. I mean, I come from a, working family. I enjoyed uh, uh, Monopoly, my favorite game, and it's kind of translated into life. After serving my country for 28 years and really chunking out properties along the way, I really decided to really pursue this path of not just passively investing in real estate. A lot of people, that's all they want to do, and that's fine. It's a wealth building strategy, but I wanted to pursue it from an active perspective. So now you've covered it, man. I've had a chance. I had a great career in the military. Started out as an MP, then became a military intelligence officer, then a foreign area officer, and then transitioned into this. So it's been a good time, and I'm looking forward to kind of really doing this for a while, actively. So no, I appreciate all the kind words, and just really happy to be able to share what I can with your team and whoever's on the show here.
Fantastic, fantastic. Um, Ray, the time that I was, I'm gonna go back a little bit, everyone, because uh, and reason I want to do is I want to show you how Ray is, what type of person Ray is. Um, I was on the Augusta deal with Ray and the team, and Ray came and asked me if I wanted to be a part of the team and help raise capital. So I said, sure, I would like to be a part of the team. And so Ray said, well, how much can you raise? So I said to Ray, I could raise $250,000. And Ray said, okay. So little to say, I didn't raise 250,000, everyone. I didn't even come close to 250. I think I did raise something, but this is the part that I want to show you how Ray is. I didn't meet the 250 goal, but Ray said, we want you to still be a part of the team. And we're going to still treat you equal to everyone else. And because of that, I was like, holy smoke, this guy is serious, and Ray, I want to say thank you, man. I want to say thank you very much for that, because it was from there I learned a lot. And for the Dayton deal, Ray, I raised over $1 million.
There you go. I'm glad. I mean, and sometimes it's baby steps. I mean, and you gotta get your things in line. Sometimes it's just pure luck, right? I mean, it just depends on who you know and if they have money. But it's probably somewhere in between. You're growing, and at the same time you're looking out for opportunities. And when you find great opportunities, how do you attract the capital and putting it all together? So no, I'm glad we were able to give you a chance to get in there, and I do that a lot. I bring in people onto the team, and they get to be a part of it. They're not just there to just raise a little capital, because of course, depending on how you do that, it's probably not quite legal. Obviously, you got to come onto a team and be more than just a capital raiser. So we expect that. I expected people to come in and be able to sit in on the meetings, participate in the meetings, ask questions, and really add value to the overall asset management process after we close. Because it's easy to just kind of be involved at the very beginning, and then for the next 5 years you're just sitting on the sidelines. But that's not what we want. That's not what a general partner should be. And the part of that is capital raising, but also there's other things that we really expect from those participants. And Daryl, you were part of the process, man, and obviously it translated to bigger and better things.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity that you gave me, because I you know how that is. A lot of operators would not have done that. So I want to say thank you for that, man. Thank you very much. Jim, go ahead and take it away, Jim.
Oh, so I just appreciate the fact that we have so many military members that seem to always show up on our calls, and I want to celebrate that. I know just on this call, we probably have at least half a dozen, and Ray and I have met virtually many times over the last several years. Was very grateful that Daryl joined with him in the Augusta deal. That turned out to be a great deal for both of them. Just would encourage anyone, if you don't know Ray personally, I could spend an hour here just talking to Ray one-to-one and really digging into his past and all of his embarrassing moments. But reach out to him personally. And Ray, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you drop your information in the chat so everyone can schedule a call with you, get to know you, potentially partner with you. But this call is really a very intimate, personal call. Most of us on here are fund managers, not necessarily raising for the same types of deals, but and many of us have a fund on the Avestor platform. And what I'd like to do is for the folks that are like Daryl was on that first deal, you have in your mind, I answered that question the first time, Daryl, 2 million. And needless to say, didn't even come anywhere close to that either. But we all, I think, overestimate how much we're going to be able to raise. If we haven't done it before, and we overestimate, the ability to do it, the complexity of doing it, the effort that it takes. And, I am absolutely 100% on the side that comes down to say the most important thing in this business is being able to raise capital, because you can't get deals done. And I don't believe that finding an asset is very hard. And finding an asset at a good price, that's a different story. But if you find it at a good price, your spidey senses better raise up, because most everyone over the last 10 years the only way you got a deal is if you technically overpaid, but then you made it a good deal. So good deals are not usually bought, they're usually made. And that's why the operator is so important. But learning how to raise capital for these deals is the piece that we really want to focus on. So Ray, I'd like to ask you, and feel free to go down any path that you want to go down. And first, let me say, do you have a presentation that you would like to present? Because if you do, we're open to that. But usually we're very loose here and we're just sharing ideas.
No presentation, man. Let's rock and roll. I'm full transparency. I guess the one time I'll kind of hesitate is if I may be talking about someone else. I try to keep that on the down low. If there's some specific person, I'll just talk in generalities. And even numbers sometimes. I got so many numbers in my head, it's kind of hard to keep them straight. But no, man, I'm an open book here. Let's roll.
Same, fantastic. So what it would be your single biggest takeaway when you're advising someone and they say, hey, Ray, I've read all your books, I've seen you on so many podcasts, and you bump into them in an elevator and they're like, I'm getting off on the next floor, or, I've got 1 minute. What's the one golden nugget that you would tell me that I need to know, or I need to work on, or I need to do?
So the biggest thing, if we're talking about folks that are raising capital, is that kind of, focused on that individual? It's all about the platform, man. It's all about the trust. If you can't figure out a way to create trust with people, and not just people you meet, but just in general through whatever you're broadcasting on whether it's a website or some other platform, you're not going to get very far. I mean, it's kind of like it's like if you have your own money and you're investing in a deal, you could have a lot of money, but you're eventually going to run out of your own money. At some point, you're going to have to bring other money to play, on some level. So you can stay. Let's call it a game. It's not a game, but let's call it a game. You stay in a game, you got to bring other money. So How do you do that? How do you exponentially do that so that when the folks in your inner circle, the ones that trust you because they know where you're coming from, they know what you do. When you run out of family and friends, where do you go? And so that becomes, how do you create that trust online? And so you have to build a platform. And so that's what I tell people is, what's your platform? How do you show that what you know, and how do you communicate potential deals to others? And that becomes the most important thing, is building that trust platform.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I know that one of the things that you said that I want to focus on is, after you finish with friends and family, where do you go? And Edwin always brings up, that we all have something that we're interested in. And if you want to become relatable, believable, and get people to trust you, really dig into what it is, or if you don't have a certain expertise, you don't have a degree in finance, maybe it's Edwin's event, the Beans and Bullets event, and you guys both love anything Colombian, anything Latin food, and anything that's shooting. Dig into that and those commonalities. But if you didn't grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth, and you didn't grow up in an expensive neighborhood, and you don't know anyone that can rub two nickels together, because let's face it, most of America is living paycheck to paycheck, and you can't try to raise money from folks that are living paycheck to paycheck. You can try to educate them on starting to save, but if you're trying to get a deal done, you need to talk to people that have money, that have excess capital to put into a deal. And if you're a W-2 worker and you're just hanging out with other blue collar guys and gals, and you have no clue how to proceed forward, how do you build a platform of authority? Who do you speak to? What would be your advice to folks like that?
You got to find your niche, man. I mean, I think a lot of people want to raise capital from everyone, and certainly, as a military person, I connect very well with other people that are, either in the military or retiring from the military. So that's a simple one. That's an easy one where you can kind of, depending on where you're coming from, because those people understand you. I have a hard time talking to doctors. I'm not a doctor. I'm not in the medical field. So, you and me, you being the doctor and me, are not the same, and we talk a different language, so it's very hard to connect. And I've heard from folks that deal with doctors. Doctors are they know more than everyone else, very general speaking, right? So it's tough to, unless you're in that world with them, they're not going to trust you, really, not really, right? And you may find one or two that do. I'm not saying it won't ever be the case, but that's not your niche. Figure out what folks are going to connect with you that meet the criteria of, whether it's a non-accredited investor with $25,000 to $50,000 that they want to invest, or whether it's accredited investors that are, putting up a bunch of money in a lot of different things, and maybe they're looking to diversify. So find your niche and focus on that, and don't try to be a broad capital raiser, because you won't get anything from a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I mean, it's obvious with your military background that that would be kind of low-hanging fruit. Let's go there first and start trying to raise some capital there first. Have you deliberately tried to grow a particular group? We talked about doctors. I know a lot of people will focus on high income professions, whether it be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, IT professional. Have you said, I'm going to target this particular person? And then if you did, why did you pick that particular group?
Yeah, so outside the military, the other folks that I really focus on from an investor perspective, avatar, if you will, is Latin American investors. Why? I'm Latin American. I mean, I'm Puerto Rican descent, and I spent a lot of time in my military career working in Latin America. And so, to me, it's very easy to kind of work in that space and really be able. I speak Spanish fluently. That helps. Although I guess some of the financial terms can be a little bit different. But most people that even if they speak Spanish and that's where they come from, they understand English military or not military, but financial terminology. So to me, that's an easy one. And there are a lot of people in Latin America that are looking to basically move their capital from where they're at to the U.S. And it's mostly a risk avoidance play versus, hey, I'm going to make so much money in the U.S. It's more about how do I not lose the money that I have, because in whatever country I'm in, that certainly the dollar is strong, so they're losing against the dollar, and two, inflation is worse in a lot of places, so their purchasing power, and even in their own currency, it's dropping over time. So they're looking to move that capital. So that to me was one that I could potentially grow, and something that I focus on.
So I know that from a platform standpoint that you have a regular meetup, and you've got your books, and those are authority platforms, if you will. Did you publish your books in Spanish? And if so, did you have better sales in Latin America than you did here? What did that look like?
Yeah, I think I did. I published my book is actually on Amazon in both English and Spanish. Bottom line up front. So if you just do Bluff Ismael Reyes, it'll come up. And so yeah, I have it in Spanish. My website is both in English and Spanish, and a lot of the blogs are both in English and Spanish. One of the things that's very particular about the culture, Latin American culture, is for businesses. You have to spend, you got to break bread with them. You got to spend time with them. They're not as apt to believe, somebody who's they're just meeting online and this sort of thing. I think in the States, we're a little bit more used to being able to build a certain level of trust initially without even knowing the person, and at least getting to that first step before you actually meet them. I think in many Latin American countries, in the culture, you have to be there with them. And so part of what I've started doing is I've started going on trips to Latin America to brief them on real estate, to change their view. A lot of folks in Latin America like to invest in single family homes in the US. And you go to South Florida, a lot of people just buy homes, and they're basically just moving that capital and buying a home. And they're not even thinking about renting it at first. They're just trying to move that capital over. But to get them transitioning over to actually investing in multifamily, which is where I focus, is a little bit more work that is being done to get them to understand that. So it's a work in progress. A lot of folks that are in Latin America actually, and the way that I bring them into deals is they create a U.S. LLC. So it's not like, it's a foreign investor per se. It's a U.S. LLC, which may have a foreign investor, and they've registered that way. So it's a work in progress, but it does start with a lot of trips and a lot of personal time. But after that, they also need to see that subject matter expertise. They also need the expertise, and they need to see your platform. And so I've started to see some movement on people purchasing my book. I have it for 99 cents. My purpose is not to make money off the book, but it is an easy way to put it on Amazon and be able to track who's actually looking at it and who's buying it. So I'll get a report that says here, what countries people are actually, going in and buying the book on Amazon. So that's very helpful to allow me to focus efforts where I'm starting to see the most traction.
So I would encourage everyone, Ray, if you could, if you have that link, or someone can drop that link in the chat, I would encourage everyone that's here today, donate 99 cents, and let's see if we can push a little traction on Ray's book and get him a new bump, get him a new best day. And everyone that's listening via social media and the internet, we'd encourage you to do the same thing. See if we can get a big bump for Ray, and he'll have to come back and talk about that. So Ray, I love that you're starting to do these seminars, and you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to go to do a seminar in another country. Have you already physically started doing that, or it's something that's on your 2024 agenda?
I've done it. I did it several times last year, and I'm focusing on Colombia. And so I plan on doing it again this year. And the best way for me to approach that is, from a fundraising standpoint, is instead of me going direct to an investor, there are funds and groups of people in Colombia they're already doing that. They already have those relationships. And so I just have to create the relationship with that entity to connect. So I'm more at the fund level in many cases, although every once in a while I'll reach out somebody who's got a significant amount of personal capital reaches out to me. But for the most part, I'm dealing with intermediaries that are facilitating that online on the actual country itself.
And are they setting up the meetings for you ahead of time, or are you doing that?
I end up being either a guest speaker, whether it's whether I'm the key speaker. I was a key speaker in one event. In another event, I was just one of several speakers. But essentially, they're setting up the events, and I'm showing up and I'm presenting on a particular topic.
Now, are you familiar with Anderson Advisors here in the States? Have you attended any of their meetings?
I haven't, no.
Okay, so Anderson typically is a little more like when you are getting to a certain age, you'll start to get postcards in the mail every other day. You know, attend this dinner for free to talk about your Social Security. Attend this dinner for free to talk about Medicare. And they'll have a small gathering at a local restaurant or a local wine bar, and you can get to go mingle with some folks, and you then sit and listen to their presentation. And Anderson takes that idea and just builds on it a little bit. So you're typically at a hotel, you're typically in a small conference room, and it's typically under 100 people. And then you have the other model, which is the conference model, where you bring in, you know, several guest speakers, and it's at least a full day event, and you're going to have anywhere from 100 to 500 folks. If you have a multi-day event, it might be, you know, 200 to 800 folks. So what type of events are you focusing on down there in Colombia?
These are conferences primarily, and what we've seen is, and it's very easy to get the intermediaries because the mentality for a lot of folks is single family and being a real estate agent, and I'm trying to open up that aperture to say, hey, there's a whole different world of that you can look at, that may be a lot easier and a lot less risky by looking at other things. And so these are real estate conferences for the most part. And part of that is, kind of giving them other things that, that they're not seeing in their own country that are being applied elsewhere. And then within that group, you'll get some fund managers there, and you get some other folks within that space, because they're also going to these things for their own networking purposes.
So fantastic. So my takeaway from that is, folks, that you've got to start somewhere building an authority platform. And I'll back up just a little bit to say that if you can get over your fear of talking to people, which if you're an extrovert, that's easy for you. If you're an introvert, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a struggle likely your entire life. I know it is for me, but I always, what I've learned in almost 66 years is everybody puts their pants on the same way, and that they're not any different, any better than you are. And if you can learn a little bit about this space in particular, because it is, honestly, guys, this is a pretty complicated space. Not too many people know about it. Not too many people understand it. We live in a bubble, a silo, if you will, where everyone we speak to knows everything we know. But when you're speaking to outside folks, if you've been attending meetings like this, if you're going to Reyes meetups and Daryl's Tuesday morning calls and underwriting, I'm going to tell you, within 6 months of doing that, you know more than 99% of the people you'll ever speak to, as long as you're not speaking to all the same people in the silo. So conferences are a great way to get to know people. But I would really, in 2024, I doubt that I will attend any real estate conferences. I do intend to this year do at least 4, but all of them will be outside of real estate. They'll be with an industry group that I want to focus on. There'll be, a doctor's conference, or the one I wanted to go to, and I just found out about it. There's I don't know if I want to call it a conference, but if anyone is planning on being in Vegas for the Super Bowl, the NFL Players Network, the retired guys, put on a meetup or a conference, because there's several hundred people there, and they have a lot of great guest speakers. I would encourage you to attend that, because even if a lot of these retired folks don't have a technically great retirement from the NFL, it still looks better than 99% of everyone else's. And some of the guys have a really great retirement plan. But more importantly, is who do they know? They're celebrities. Maybe you meet someone there that will join your team and be a spokesperson for you. But at the very least, there's a lot of other people in that room that are supporting those players and that want to be connected to those players. So that'd be a great conference to go to for any of us. So I'm going to focus on things like that. But if I'm going to go to a real estate conference, the way I'm going to attend to gain more authority that Ray is talking about, so you can get a little bit more buy-in from other investors, is sponsor a booth, the cheapest one you can sponsor, or see if you can become a guest speaker. And if you can't become a guest speaker, see if you can assist the management team there so that your face is seen by. I'm going to tell you, being at the front booth and signing everybody in, you get to shake hands with every single person there, and you get to make an impression with every single person there. So I would do those types of things at a real estate conference. I'm not going to go to a real estate conference and try to see if I can get 50 business cards, because even if I do, and even if I follow up with them, everyone in this room knows them. Everyone in this room is trying to raise capital from them. I'd rather talk to Ray's doctor that nobody else is talking to except for maybe Ray, and try to get him to invest in my deal. So, Ray, what's your feedback on building that, especially if you're not comfortable having a monthly meetup, or if you don't want to be on stage? Do you have any other advice on how people can do that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just to your point, Jim, the only other reason to go to these events, honestly, is if you're looking for partnership, if you're looking for a particular person to fill out your team, or if you're potentially looking for deals where you could jump in and with people that you know and that you trust. So it's more about that side of the house. That's why you go to these conferences. The other reason to go is you do get pretty good analysis for, typically they bring in somebody who's an analyst to that event. And if you really want to understand what's going on and what most other operators are doing and thinking, then you go to those events. If you're trying to figure out, okay, I may, in some, what's happening in a lot of places is people are having to figure out whether they need to do a capital call or not, or whether they need to do, find money to do, to buy rate cap insurance. You go to those events to figure out what other people are doing. So it's not so much about finding capital as it is more about the other parts of the business that you may or may not be involved in. What I would say is, Jim, if you're not comfortable with those things, or you're in front of people and you're talking to them and you're trying to build that platform, then go to that event and find somebody else who is, and bring them on as part of your team. Because the reality is, in this business, and I agree with your point to some extent that raising capital is the most important thing, but that's assuming that you have a way to find those deals, or somebody else is finding those deals for you and doing that initial analysis. Because like you said, it can be a little bit of a needle in a haystack. Although you can find certain deals and you can make a deal work, it's a lot easier when someone's kind of bringing those to you, and you're able to focus on the things that you're good at. If you're good at raising capital, then focus on that, as opposed to spending your efforts trying to underwrite when you don't like it and you're not very good at it. And so why do that? Focus on the things you're good at. If you're good at underwriting, and you're just trying to learn about capital raising, that's fine, one thing. But if you really want to be good at capital raising, it probably requires a certain type of personality. And if not that, at least somebody who's willing to go outside of what their comfort zone is.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you bringing up the other side of attending those conferences. So our focus on this call every week is capital raising. And if you're going to that conference to raise capital, I think there's a better use of your time. But if you're still looking for partnerships, or you're looking for other, what is the current financial climate? Are they having someone speak on the economy? And are they having a breakout room on on capital and the capital calls and the current environment and loans that are going bad. Yeah, that is invaluable information if you're not tied in, if your network, if you're not getting that somewhere else in your daily network, then absolutely a great use of that resource. But for me, almost everything is, where's the money? I don't see deals fail because they didn't have underwriting. I don't see deals fail because they couldn't find a lender to do a deal. But I see deals fail every single day because they couldn't come up with enough money to get the deal over the line. They lose their EMD, or they're in the deal and they wind up losing because they need $1 million and they don't raise $1 million. But that's where I see deals lost. It's not all these other pieces, and that's why I think it's so important. But yeah, that's great advice, Ray. And I love that you're talking about Colombia, and I'm going to sidetrack for just a second. I don't know if you and Edwin know each other, but Edwin's also a Floridian. I doubt by birth. I don't know if there's any such thing anymore, but also a Floridian, and also has a Colombian connection. So you guys definitely need to talk to each other offline if you're not already. And both of you are in the same space, but you're coming at it from a different perspective. So Edwin's more into the debt space. And so you guys might want to take a common trip to Colombia, and he can handle debt and notes, and you can handle multifamily and getting people to move into that. But hopefully you guys make that connection. So
Sounds good.
What, Ray, what other, I'm sure that you have spent some money on yourself to become a better capital raiser. I know that capital raising has been your primary focus on the GP team, correct?
It has been for a long time now. Actually, I'm taking more of a leadership approach within the teams. So essentially, I'll have partners that come in, and I kind of I'm the lead person in that team. But I still focus on the capital raising at the very beginning of these deals. I have an individual or two that is doing a lot of the number crunching for me. So yeah, so I would say yes, I'm still focused on that, but I do have to play a bigger picture of kind of integrating all the players, if you will.
Yeah, and your experience in leadership, being a light colonel, would definitely play into that leadership role. And how do we mold the team? How do we motivate the team? How do we keep them on track and moving forward? And not everyone has that skill set. It's for you being a leader of men, it's natural to do that, and I think also natural to be able to raise capital, because you're trying to get people to a certain point. And that's what leadership is about. So that falls into your wheelhouse. But did you spend any money on training? And if so, what programs specifically did you actually attend, or were you self-taught and read 15 books?
So I was initially part of Michael Blanc's group, but it was more just learning how to underwrite versus raising capital itself. Now I've done a lot of trial and error stuff, and certainly talking to other folks that are in the capital raising space. But I am not part of a capital raising mastermind, if you will, or anything like that. And to truth be told, I am considering doing more. If I do any kind of conferences, it's probably more of those specific conferences that are dealing on capital raising and linking up with fund managers and linking up with people that are actually the go-between investors, the institutional investors, if you will. So that's probably more of a focus of mine going forward, but nothing where I personally sat on and got some long course or some books per se. Now I have read other books. Obviously, Richard Wilson had a very good book on raising capital. Hunter Thompson's book. There's several that talk about the subject, and I'm constantly looking at what other people are doing. I mean, the best way to figure out what other people are, how to do certain things if you don't want to spend the money, is sign up for some of these things. Sign up for somebody's LinkedIn, get on somebody's page, and start seeing the kind of stuff that you get sent to you. And if you're not doing that, then you're not kind of reverse engineering some of that, then you may not know of some things that other people are doing that work, and you're not getting it. So it's always good to see what other people are doing in the space. And sometimes so long as you're not stealing somebody's material and using it for your own webinar and calling it your own, if you give credit to other people, they'll appreciate it, and you can actually get some of it for some of it for using their effort, right? Using their effort. Just give them credit for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Not everyone can be an inventor. Not everyone can be in an Einstein or a Bell, but everyone can be a reinventor. And I like to steal from the best and reinvent it and put it in my own voice, because I'm not a creative person, and anyone can do that. Now, God bless you if you are a creative person. You have a place on a lot of different teams if you are. But no, I love that. So it's getting close to the last quarter of the hour. And I've got one more question before we open it up to the group for questions. So you did point out that institutional investors working with registered agents and other third-party, certified financial planners and such, that you're starting to tap into that in Colombia. Has that given you some additional insight on how to do it here in the States?
Yeah, I think it's a natural progression. I mean, no matter how much you get from retail investors, I'll use the word retail investors. You're raising capital and you're talking to the actual entity, individual, small entity that is actually going to invest. That's more of a retail investor. When you get into larger deals, though, you really do need to start looking at how you multiply that. And a lot of times what you do is you're looking for that fund, which is why I got into the fund space, right? I'm sure, Jim, similar for you. It's you're looking for someone else that actually has a network of people and they have capital that they can plug into a deal, so you can get that $31 million deal done. Because it does take a lot of $50,000 to get one of those done by yourself, right? So you want to do both. You definitely don't want to turn off retail investors, but wherever possible, bring in another entity that could package some capital up for you to get you close to that finish line. In some cases, even if you're not the lead investor on that, if you're able to bring in another partner that is that has their own group of folks that they can bring to bear, sometimes you can leverage additional for yourself in that deal by doing that. Because technically you are bringing capital, even though these are not your investors, you're still bringing a chunk of capital to a deal. So you can always leverage other people's raising to get to that common goal of closing on a deal.
Yeah, I think Jenny had that experience with her first raise. She's not on the call any longer, but she was very, very successful in her first raise. I think she raised more than $1 million, less than $2 million, if I remember right, which is really unusual for a first-time raiser that's never done it before and hasn't been in the space before. And I think that that was her secret to success, was she found a bunch of other people that were raising capital or had raised capital before and weren't necessarily big, but they were looking for an opportunity to continue to exercise that muscle. So that's great advice for folks. So we'll go ahead and open it up to anyone who has questions. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or raise your hand virtually or on screen. And or if you are uncomfortable, you want to drop it in the chat, drop it in the chat.
Ray, I just want to ask, when I know when I first started, there was a lot of things I had to overcome. A lot of, I had to get me a system. It was a lot. When going back, before you got to where you are now, and you were new, you were just starting to raise capital, what were some of the things that you had to overcome?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, that's part of the reason why I retired as a lieutenant colonel instead of a colonel. My last job, I was in a place where as I wanted to make my transition into this space, it became very difficult for me to be able to disconnect from what I was doing in my, it's called W-2 job, to do this. I was working in a secure space where you couldn't just be on the phone. If I wanted to talk to someone, I had to leave the building. So it became very difficult to try to do any kind of capital raising in that environment. And so some people have a much better opportunity within their W-2 space because they're engaging with people in a more maybe more informally, or where there's less restrictions, and you can have those kind of side conversations and still do your regular job. And so for me, that was the biggest challenge. Is I had to pick my poison, man. So after 28 years, I figured I'd go look at something else, something that I'd always wanted to do, but I never quite was able to do it because of my duty to the country and the time that I spent there. So that was probably the biggest. The second one is, and this is a transition that all capital raisers will have to make, if especially if they're getting started, if you're coming from a different industry, right? How do you become? In my case, I was working with foreign governments. I was training militaries. I was giving equipment to military and training them on how to use that equipment, U.S. equipment. And so I had the people that knew me as being an expert in that, foreign area officer, this sort of thing. How did that translate to managing their money on an investment, right? So you have to make that transition, and it can be harder or easier, but it all starts with building that platform. And in my case, because I had this passion for real estate from very early on, even people that knew me within the military knew that my passion for real estate and the fact that I had invested. But it's still, that's one thing to invest your own money. It's another thing to take someone else's. So I had a little bit of a difficult time transitioning because people are like, yeah, Ray, I love you, brother, but this is something completely different. And so they wanted to see my, kind of the story and how I started before they were willing to chunk out a little bit of money at me, right? And I've gotten to that point. And frankly, your best investors are actually referred. It's the first couple that you get that you worked hard to get. Those are very hard, and when you run out of those, it's a lot easier to get someone to refer you to new investors. And the trust that you build there is so much so much faster because it's not you telling your story; it's someone else telling your story, and so it helps you. So that's really where you start growing as a capital raiser, is when you've gone through your paces, you've gotten the folks around you, you've gotten into a couple of deals, and now other people are saying, you need to go talk to that Ray guy. And they may be talking about something, nothing related to real estate. Then real estate comes up and boom, top of mind. Hey, you need to go talk to Ray. And here's what he did for me and yada, yada. And you kind of have to go there. But that's the hardest thing, is you have to grind. And especially if you're in a place where your expertise is different, you have to grind to get to the point where now people trust you with their money.
Right.
So
that's excellent.
Daryl, I'm going to turn it over to you and Alicia. I've got to go to the VA lab. So it just popped up on my calendar and I had completely forgot about it. So Ray, again, so great to see you. And thank you for so much wonderful knowledge. You dropped a lot of golden nuggets there, and appreciate you and want to see you come back. Daryl, you guys finish up. Make sure before you end that you remind everyone about the Tuesday morning call for folks that want to focus a little more on the underwriting side of things. So great to see everyone, and appreciate you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
So Ray, I have a question. How have you, and do you have a system to conduct like your due diligence of potential investors? And if so, what does that process look like?
So you're saying, how do I conduct due diligence of potential investors? So in other words, how do I find investors? Or are you saying due diligence and how do I qualify them to invest in a deal?
Yes. How do you qualify them to invest?
Yeah, so it all starts with your funnels. You have to be out there somewhere where people can get on your funnel. Right now, as an example, I put in my link so that people can get on my calendar and have a chat with me. That automatically puts you in my funnel, and you'll get some notices. At that point, if you really want, you'll start getting some deal information on maybe deals where we can partner. But it all starts with some place where people can plug their data into. Once you have that data, the next thing is to get on a call, and just to get a sense of what they're looking for, how you can help them, etc. I get a lot of folks, just truthfully, that are actually looking to do this versus investing. They're looking for operations, experience. And it used to be I talked to them forever for free. I'm getting to the point now, because of my time, that I'm probably going to open up some hours where I basically do some coaching at a reasonable cost. Just because I love talking about it, one, but two, I actually do have multiple business that I got to run. So my time becomes much more limited. But it all begins with, how do they inject into your space, into your funnel, and then how do you basically filter them through to the point where you're putting a deal in front of them. It's different depending on what it is you're trying to achieve. If you're a general partner versus you have your own deals. So you just have to understand what your workflow is going to be in that funnel, and getting them down there, and figure out if there's a choke point somewhere, figure out how do you fix that. In my case, the choke point was initially, so I'd get people to talk to me. I do some basic nurturing, but it became very hard for me to follow up with people in a timely manner. So I had to create I use Go High Level now, but basically create a way for me to reach back out to them personally, and not just nurturing via emails, especially if they've gotten to the point where I've had an initial call with them and they have some interest, and it's just a matter of timing. You definitely need to follow up, and your system has to give you that, because you will forget, especially when your list keeps getting bigger and bigger. Eventually, you're going to lose track of certain investors.
So what's your way of, if your LP investors, once you know where they want to invest in, what is your way of communicating the risks associated with investing, if there are any, as it relates to the investments that you invest in?
Yeah. So if you're a general partner on a deal, or if you're the lead sponsor on a deal, obviously you're creating the investment presentation. You're taking the offering memorandum, you're taking information you're getting from the broker, you're doing your own analysis, and that's giving you that document. What I tell investors is, log into my platform. Even if you're not ready to invest in a deal, because whether it's timing or whether you need to understand more before you do that, take a look at an actual deal, and let's talk about that deal. And you can be upfront and say, Ray, I'm not interested right now. I just want to understand this. Okay, well, let's do that. Let's run, instead of giving you a notional deal. At this point, I have enough real deals where I can say, let's take a look at a real one. Let's look at the private placement memorandum. Let's look at the investment presentation. We do a Q&A, a live Q&A, and I offer that all to them and say, understand the process, so that if and when you're ready to commit to a deal, the timing is right, you've got the money, whatever the case is, you're ready to commit. It's no longer about the process or about me, as whether you trust me or not, and my ability to give you the kind of returns that I'm saying. It's about the specific deal and how much more you want to do your own analysis. Because a lot of people will definitely take whatever you give them, and they'll do their own analysis. People are smart, and depending on where they're coming from, they may even be doing their own underwriting. So understand the process, understand me, and once you're comfortable with that, then we can talk about a specific deal. And then that deal has its own risk, and as part of that, you presenting that to them.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm handing the mic off to Cedric.
What's that?
I said, thank you. I'm handing the mic off to Cedric Marlowe over there.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Alicia. Ray, again, Cedric Marlowe, I just reached out to you for a connection on LinkedIn, and I'll have my assistant to reach out to you for the Service to Syndication podcast that I currently host. But my question is, and you can correct me on the time frame, but that Augusta deal, I think you guys were in and out of there in about 18 months or something like that. My question is, how are you guys able to reach your business plan goal in such a short time and decide to sell?
Yeah, that's a great question. The reality is, in that particular deal, even though we had projected to hold it for 5 years, the plan was always to do a pilot where we basically do a proof of rents. So we were only going to turn about 20% of the units, and we were able to do that pretty quickly, and then realized before the year was up that, like, hey, we could make a chunk of money. You know, what we're telling people we can do in 5, we can do that in less than a year. But hey, let's wait a year because we don't want short-term capital gains. We want long-term capital gains. So we had to wait, honestly, till we got to that 13th month for the sale. But it was always a proof of, I would say proof of concept, but it's really more proof of be able to self-comp rents that, you know, what you can sell to the next person is like, you know, it's one thing when you're a broker and you're telling people, hey, if you do all these things, you'll be able to rent the property for, you know, X plus, you know, X more. It's another thing where you're saying it's already been done on 20% of the units. They're already getting that. So it's a self-comp, makes it a lot easier to sell. So that's all we were hoping to get. And we were able to execute that pretty quick. And then, of course, sometimes it's a matter of, you know, you're riding a wave, right? You know, we were riding the wave going upwards there with Augusta. Those deals are probably very hard to get now, right? You're not able to refinance at a low rate. People aren't able to acquire at a low rate. And so it's a lot harder. But I think that was always the plan, is to get in and out as fast as possible. But still telling investors, worst case scenario, we're going to hold for 5.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So listen, it's 2:58. I'm just going to go around and see if anyone have any questions real quick. Marcus, you have any questions?
No, all of them was answered. Thank you, Darryl.
All right. Rhonda Harris, you have any questions? All right. Bernadette, you have any questions? Oh, hold on, Bernadette. Go ahead, Miss Rhonda. You have any questions?
No, I get the recorder. I had challenges getting in this morning, but that which I did hurt. And thank you for your service, sir. Definitely.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Miss Bernadette, you have any questions?
I do have one quick question. You had mentioned that you're doing a lot in Colombia. Have you any plans to seek out investors in other Latin American countries?
Yeah, I've actually started working with Mexicans as well in Mexico. I spent 3 years in Mexico while I was in the military, and there is a lot of you know, a lot of people don't know this, but Mexico, there's a lot of folks with a ton of money there, right? And, you know, we all kind of,
yes.
You know, if you're not from there, you have maybe a different mentality, but because you see, you know, what's happening at the border, and you leap to certain conclusions. But there are Mexicans with a lot of money. And so I'm trying to work with them. The other thing is Mexico obviously has a preferred relationship with the U.S., you know, through the USMCA, and they get some additional benefits for, and not as much, I guess, paying to invest in the U.S. So Mexico has that preferred status. Colombia has that preferred status. Canada has a preferred status. So one of the other things to look at is, okay, which countries, how hard is it for people from certain countries to invest, and trying to focus on those where it's, you know, you have the path of least resistance, if you will.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Miss Sonia, do you have any questions?
No, thank you, Ray. Excellent presentation. I'm good.
All right, thank you. Miss Lacey, do you have any questions?
I do have a question. I was wondering, how often do you do outreach to your investors via like online marketing or things like that directly to their email boxes?
They get quite a bit of it because all the nurturing stuff I send to them. One of the things that when you get to a certain point, one of the things you have to do is you have to start segmenting your leads, right? If you know, at first it's all, you put it all in one place, but at some point then you start, you know, peeling back that onion and you start figuring out, okay, who's in it for just education, who's in it for, who's just a partner and they've got their own deals, and you start trying to segment that. So I've gotten to the point now where, you know, I know there's a group of folks, if they're learning about the space, then they're getting nurturing emails educating them on multifamily. If they're operators, they're going to get you know, deals that I have in case they're looking to potentially place some capital in somebody else's deal. So I think it depends, but I'm consistently sending emails. I would say if not once a week, at least once every couple of weeks, folks are getting something from me. And then of course, when we have a deal, and we actually have a special sales pipeline that we use for specific capital raising operations, different than your nurturing campaigns.
Mm.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Miss Stephanie?
No, great presentation, Ray. Thank you for your service. But you were very thorough, so I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Cedric, any questions?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
All right.
I see
Mr.
somebody with their
Copeland.
hand up. Daniel?
Yeah,
Yes.
but I'm gonna get to him.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
He's showing up
Richard
on my
Copeland?
screen, so I want to make sure we didn't
Yep.
keep waiting too long.
Oh yeah, I'm not good. Richard Copeland, you good? He said he's good. Alicia, you good?
I'm good.
You're good. I'm good. Daniel?
How are you, Mr. Reyes?
Good, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you. We have a lot in common. Where were you born in Puerto Rico?
I was born in Mayagüez.
Mayagüez. My wife was born in Bayamón.
Okay.
So I have 4 kids. I have 6 kids. 4 with my first wife. So they're half Puerto Rican and half Indian, because I'm Indian. Pero también hablo español, porque trabajo en Celia Cruz. I was a porcelain engineer in the music industry in 1970.
Where?
And my last 2 are Argentinians, because my first one died of cancer, and I got married a second time.
Okay.
So besides that, I have a lot of questions, but I think we don't have the time now for me to ask you. So I will get your contact info, and we will definitely get in touch with each other.
Sounds good. Looking forward to chatting a little bit.
Thank you.
All right. So I just want to say, Ray, it was a pleasure having you on. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your time with us to help us and to educate us to capital raising. And again, I want to thank you even just for giving me that opportunity to be on your team, to work with you and to get and to receive education on capital raising. So I just want to say, everyone, please, let's give Ray a big applaud. I don't know how we could do it with the mics off and on.
Yeah,
and
using
that.
the icons, right?
Yeah, right. But I just want to say thank you very much for coming and for being with us. And for everyone, listen, don't forget on Tuesday, on the first and third Tuesday, we have a guest speaker on the capital raise, not the capital raise, the commercial multifamily masterminds, where, oh, wait a minute, before I do that, Ray, if anyone, how can I forget that? If anyone would like to get in contact with you, how can they do so?
I just put it in the Zoom. I can put it again, where basically they can just sign up and let me see if it should be there. If somebody wants to repost it, but basically it's my link to get on my calendar. And if you guys don't have an automated calendar, please, that's critical, because you never know when somebody's going to try to get call you, and if you're in the middle of something, you may miss an investor. So the best way is give people, instead of a phone number, give them a place where you can give them dedicated time.
Fantastic. So don't forget, everyone, commercial multifamily masterminds, first and third Tuesday of the month. This coming on the 20th, we're going to have a guest speaker. Be on the lookout for that invitation. Next Wednesday, we're going to have, I do believe we're going to have Tim May. That's going to be talking about capital raising strategy. So, hey, I want to see you all back here next Wednesday. I will see you on the 20th of February. And Ray, thank you so much for coming. And Ray,
Hey,
have a go ahead.
I got a quick question for you though. When are you guys putting your next event together? Are you doing one this year?
With the GOB event?
Uh-huh.
No, this year we're not going to be doing one this year. Right now, we're in the process of putting things in order so that we can look for hopefully in 2025.
I want to go, so let me know, man.
Sounds good. That's a winner. All
Take
right.
care, everybody. Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Take care. Have a blessed weekend and a blessed day.
Thank you. You're still live.